Friends, welcome back to Iron Sharpens Iron. We are pleased to welcome back the great Steve Meyers to Iron Sharpens Iron this week. Steve, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Appreciate the invite.
Steve hit me up this past week and said, hey, here's something we should think about talking about. And we'll get into that. But my response was, well, hey, you're the expert. Do you want to come and talk about this with us? And thank you for being gracious enough to join us. We love having you on here all the time, Steve.
Well, I appreciate you guys accepting my invitation to invite myself to your podcast.
Anytime. I was going to invite myself to your house just to hang out, Steve, but I thought it might have been awkward, so I didn't.
So the topic, at a high level today, friends, is talking about culture. And I think this came a little bit out of our conversation with Chris Gear last week. And, Chris and Steve and I, we all worked at Vivint several years ago. And Chris had brought up the, kind of this atmosphere. And he used the analogy of the former CEO of Vivint, Todd Peterson, had asked the employees to go scale Mount Timpanogos in the middle of winter in nothing but, Bermuda shorts, t-shirt, and some flip-flops, that everybody would have just run out the door and tried and figure it out. And culture is, it can be a buzzword in the business world, but so important, because a positive culture, we all know how good that feels and how good it feels to go to work when you have a mission to go accomplish and you have people that are on board and doing it with you and everybody's just energized. In contrast, if there's the toxic culture that we all know and most everybody has experienced at some point, it's exhausting to even go to work.
Yes.
And starting the day exhausted is never an enjoyable thing. So
right.
I want to start here with just a couple quotes that I found that I think tee up this conversation, and then Steve would love your thoughts on this. But says, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. And that's from Simon Sinek. And the other one I got here is from John C. Maxwell. And he says, the attitude of the leader, coupled with a positive atmosphere in the organization, can encourage people to accomplish great things. So, friends, let's talk about it. Why is it that leaders have such an impact on culture? And like when you have a great leader, people are just ready to jump behind them and do great things.
Yeah, well, I love the quotes. And I think too, as I ponder this topic, right, and culture, it's obvious to me, and I think I could successfully have a conversation with anyone that would choose to, that this spans personal and professional existence, if you will. I mean, whatever personal environment you find yourself in, there's going to be a culture, good or bad.
Right.
Whatever professional experience you find yourself in, same thing, good or bad, there's going to be some type of culture. And I think it affects everything and everyone. And it makes a huge difference. I was sharing with Jake Solo that when I was talking with Gira about going to work for him at Vivint, it was pretty simple conversation. He called me and said, hey, I'd like you to come out to this company and just experience what's going on in the lunchroom. I'm not telling you, I mean, it was, you could feel it the minute you walked in the place. And,
Really?
Jake had been there and Jake was actually, if I may share, Jake, interestingly to me, was in a existence culture that wasn't allowing him to be as great as he could be. And I think finding someone like that and bringing him to a culture where they can thrive, sit back, right? Watch it take off, watch them go. You put people in a position to be as great as they want to be and create that type of culture. And that gets people, in my humble opinion, charging up the side of the mountain to do it, whatever you think can't be done, because it can be.
And that's a fun one, a related tangent, I'll call it. But yeah, when Steve, when you and I met face to face for the first time, and I was reporting to someone different, and it was coming to work every day, I wasn't quite sure which version of my boss I was going to get. And they were two very different individuals.
Yep.
There's the one that, would invite me to go golfing and say, dude, you're doing great things. Let's go golfing. and then 5 minutes later would be tearing me up one side and down the other.
Mr.
And
Hyde.
right, that is a perfect analogy. But it's funny because when I started interviewing with you for to be a regional manager, he told me, he said, I don't think you're going to like working for Steve. Like, you two are not going to get along at all. I think you're going to be miserable. And, fast forward many
Yeah.
years, and you and I still talk on a weekly basis. And I've
You're
had
like, this is a
reported
good
to you for
sign
10
because
years.
you're Mr. Hyde today and you're saying I'm not going to like him. So this is a good sign.
Hey, yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because I recently shared in a group meeting. They did the icebreaker kind of thing. Hey, tell us who you are, what you do, and where you're from, and your superpower, right? And so I got through 1, 2, 3, and I said, and my superpower is, and this wasn't put on me by myself. I'm not that type of person. I said, but my wife identifies me as the person that everybody likes.
Nice.
So, and I attribute that to the perspective that has grown in me throughout the various iterations of personal and professional relationships I've had over the course of my career. Um, Jake, in Solo, I think you're maybe familiar with this as well. I use the phrase exhaustively energized to define the culture that I choose to live and operate in, right? And of course, being the researcher that I like to be, I Google searched it, right? And found that exhaustively energized means, if I may, to experience a state of deep functional fatigue while remaining completely mentally driven or emotionally dialed in.
Mm.
It is the sensation of pouring every ounce of your physical and mental capacity into a goal, leaving you simultaneously physically wiped out, but completely stimulated and motivated. That, my friends, I believe, is a great spot to be in.
That's
Right?
interesting.
Yeah.
I've exhaustively energized. That's interesting because my wife tells me that my superpower, first off, is it's a very particular one. I can pick the exact amount of tinfoil or parchment paper to fit in a pan. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that skill before, but it's a big
That's
deal,
not
I guess, in
possible.
the kitchen. But one of the things that she says is that, or to me, truly, not jokingly, is that when things are too easy, I self-destruct. There's something about this weight, this load that you have to have. If you're a load bearing structure, like I think most leaders and folks that are just hardwired for success are, you have to have a load to bear. And if you don't, like I've noticed even in the gym, like if I don't have enough weight on the bar or on the machine, my muscles don't fire right. Like it's wobbly and weird, and I could tweak something. I've never, pulled my back out doing something heavy. It's always like bending over to like tie your shoe or doing something weird like light, because you're a load bearing structure and you need load. So it's interesting. Unpack that for us, Steve. Like, how do you build a culture that has somebody exhaustively energized? Any tips?
Leadership. I mean, it's leadership. To Jake's point earlier, right? I mean, if you find yourself dreading doing what you're doing, then there's a component of it that you can probably attribute to yourself, because as the old phrase goes, your attitude is the only thing you can control.
Right.
But if you're grinded on, just repeatedly, time after time after time, you're going to be exhausted. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, for me, I'm like you. I mean, I'm at my best when there's an objective or something to accomplish. And if that's hard, which is okay, but you're getting there and you're taking the steps to get to the successful completion of the task, you're going to be exhausted, but you're going to be energized, ideally, because you've completed the task. Celebrate the win.
Yeah.
And I think most importantly in that process, if you have a leader that says to you something as simple as, hey, Solo, thank you for taking what we handed you that was in this condition and bringing it to the condition that organizationally we needed it to be in. So thanks, right? And, a couple of thanks along the way, the simple power of thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you $1,000 bonus,
Yeah.
which you're going to go blow on something. And there's an interesting dichotomy around bonuses, right? I mean, everybody loves bonuses. Heck, I love bonuses. Scored a bonus yesterday, which was good. Love it. but what am I going to do with it? I may do something positive. I may do something that's tangible, but that might go away, right? That might go away.
Exactly.
Whereas if someone has said to me during the course of my career, thank you, I appreciate you, well done, positive affirmation, I think it sticks. I hope it sticks.
Yeah.
I hope they receive it.
It's
It's
that's funny that you say that, because a lot of folks think that they work for bonuses or commissions, and they really don't. Like, I've found recently in structuring comp plans that there's a very specific formula and a thing that you have to think about when it comes to like compensation for something. And a lot of us forget that dopamine, which dopamine is an anticipatory hormone. It's not when you get the thing, you get the bonus, you feel the dopamine. It's the anticipation of, it's the running after of, it's the going for the thing. And you have to be in this like perfect balance. When you say like exhaustively energized, I think of like hormesis, right? Like that idea that the dose, like a small dose of something harmful, is actually beneficial. Like the dose makes the poison. You look at that in things like exercise. You know, you tear muscle fibers, but body repairs and it repairs stronger. Like you fast and it stresses your cells, but the body responds by like cleaning house and autophagy and making things more efficient. You think of cold exposure and heat exposure, like you're going through these bad things if they're a lot. Like, hey, you're sitting out in 0-degree weather for a long time, you're going to die. You sit out in the middle of the desert for a long time, you're going to die. You sit a bunch of, weight on your chest, you're going to die. You fast for a long time, you're going to starve. Even radiation at low doses actually stimulates like cellular repair. So it's like the body doesn't really respond well to comfort. And I don't think our minds do either. It needs to be challenged. It needs to do that to stay sharp. And I feel like this exhaustively energized, this balance, this hormesis is essentially like a biological response and explanation for like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? We've always been taught that. And I think it's an important caveat to say that too much without these things that really matter, like appreciation, without support, without somebody that I think that is in a hierarchy higher than you, that you deem in the tribe to be more important than you, whether that's hierarchical or it's like wisdom, age, whatever, sees what you're doing and says, good job. Like the effort, the energy, the exhaustion that you're feeling, the bad thing that you're feeling is actually noticed, appreciated, and that gives you like the emotional, okay, let's keep going. And if you can keep going, your body will heal a little stronger and you can do more, and heal, get a little stronger and do more. And then one day you'll look back and say, man, like chest is feeling kind of hard right now. And it's like, yeah, it's because of all of the exhaustion that you've gone through, it's made you stronger, but you are energized because of the culture, because of the people, because of the support, because of the, I notice you and see you. That's interesting, Steve. I never thought about it like that.
And it's gratitude and appreciation in the workplace.
Huge.
It's an interesting one. So I read a book, and Steve, you're exactly right on this. Like I read a book many, many years ago called The Carrot Principle, and it was talking about the carrot principle.
Okay.
Yep. So you either use a stick or dangle the carrot, right?
Yep.
And Steve, you were talking about how, just a simple thank you can be very impactful to a person's day. I mean, it doesn't have to be the $1,000 bonus all the time. And, I read this book and I had the aha moment with my team, and I talked to my managers and I said, how often are you guys calling your employees and just expressing appreciation or gratitude?
Such a good question.
And they looked at me and they're like, I don't know. I tell them thank you all the time. I said, yeah, but is there an ask when you call? Like, are you saying thank you, but also like wanting to talk to them about something else? Whether they're either doing wrong or that they need to do differently. And like, yeah, I think so. I said, okay, here's my ask for each of you now. Here's the marching orders. You guys are doing awesome. However, I want you to set a goal that every single week you call every member of your team, and the only thing you are going to talk to them about is what they're doing right, and telling them thank you for showing up on time every day or recognizing their great performance. And you have to do this every week this month. And when you call them, you cannot ever have a repeat. You have to do something different. Tell them thank you for something different.
I love that you said that. I'll just to jump in real quick, Jake, because I'm the type of person, I lay it on thick. And that lay it on thickness can, I would say, water down the message. And
It
I've
can.
found that it's not necessarily the lay it on thickness waters it down. It's the non-specificity of what it is that you're doing right. Like you
Yes.
actually have to find the
Yes.
thing that you really do appreciate.
Yep.
It can't be like, thank you
Yes.
so much for just doing such a great job. It's thank you so much. When you had
Yes.
that bonus conversation with Tina, I know it was going to be hard, but you did it well. And she took it well. And she could have very well just got disengaged. But the way that you handled yourself was beautiful. And I just really appreciate you being able to have hard conversations. Like, thank you. And
Absolutely.
it's like,
Yep.
wow, okay. It hits different when it's something specific, especially if the
Correct.
person interprets that thing as a hard thing to do and not something that they
100%.
necessarily wanted to do.
100%. My golf buddy the other day said and I borrowed this from him. He said, it's the purpose of the thank you that makes the difference, right? It's identifying why you're saying thank you. Fortunately, early on in my career, I had my aha moment to Jake's conversation there. I called someone who was on my team to thank them for completing a task that, I mean, needed to be done, right? We had to get it done. But I said, hey, I just want to give you a call and tell you thank you for, doing it, what you did there. And I identified it and I paused. And then the person said, and
Exactly.
I was like, and what? No, and you got something else, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't. But thanks for pointing that out about me,
Yeah.
because oftentimes I did have
That was-
something else.
That was the exact experience that my managers had. Is they would do this, and so that's a great call out about being specific.
Yeah,
And
totally.
they these technicians would, and I'm sorry, Steve, I used the wrong word there. These field professionals,
Feel professional.
these field professionals that were going out to the homes they'd ask that, okay, what else you need? Nothing. Just wanted to tell you how
Yeah.
great you are.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so impactful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing that up, because now I'll spend 30 seconds on why I'm so heck bent on the term technician versus professional. And I mean, no offense to any technicians in the audience. There's an absolute reason why you may have the term technician in your job title. However, your behavior and your mindset in that same position, right? I work for an elevator company right now, and those guys are service technicians.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there's a very regimented training that they have to go through. There's safety, right? There's all kinds of things that you want them to be educated and equipped to do what they do for themselves, right? But when they get on site with a customer, there's a different type of culture that exists if you come into it with the mindset that, you know what, I'm a professional, right? I'm in this industry, I'm in that industry, whatever industry you're in, right? Your perspective on your approach on how you're going to execute, I believe, creates one culture or another of the environment within which you operate.
That's good.
It's, and I mean, I again, don't disparage the term. I just think that you have to understand why it's applied, where it's applied. And it really, at the end of the day, like I said, it really doesn't matter. It's about your approach.
I love that. I feel like it brings me back to something that's kind of different, but at the same note, in the same tone. Like my dad used to always speak victory in me. And it's our job, and I believed in myself because of the words that he said. And it's our job to look past, like, you're an ex-technician because you took this test, and say, no, you're a professional. You're a professional in this field, and you need to hold yourself to that higher standard because I see you as better than you see you. And it's my job as a leader to make sure that you believe it. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to keep telling you until you do. Because who's going to see something bigger, greater, and broader for you than somebody who's supposedly bigger, greater, and broader than you in your own perspective? And I love that, Steve. I think words matter. And I think speaking victory into our team, our families, our people, our kids, our just friends, and everybody is something that's super impactful on a person.
100%. 100%. You're creating the culture.
Well, I think that, like, when we talk about exhaustively energized, and I know we've been using Vivint as kind of the poster child for this, just due to Steve and I's background here, and what we talked about with Chris last week. But the thing that made that different, and Steve, you're talking about professionals, really impacts this, is you and Chris and the other leaders. And then I'll also give kudos to just Vivint's, call center team and their media team, because going from you're a technician and you're just completing a task to you're a professional and you're saving lives. That was one of the things that Vivint did extremely well,
Yeah.
is they connected the dots to
Yeah.
this is why what we do matters. And there's videos and they're all over YouTube. So audience, you can go search any of these customer testimonial videos, but I'll use one as an example. Was Edith. I remember this video vividly because I was in that territory. But when the Joplin tornado came through, it's
Yeah.
probably like 20 years ago now, wiped out like half the town of Joplin.
Wow.
And the alarm system had these weather alerts, and it would do a early warning tornado siren. And typically it would go off like 5 minutes before the actual sirens in the city, because it was connected to the weather service. And so this little old lady lived alone, was 80 something years old, I think.
Yeah.
She walks in, she hears it. She walks in, takes a stool, sits in the hallway closet, shuts the door. And when the first responders found her, the next morning after this tornado had gone through, the entire house had collapsed around this closet. And it was the only room that was even still like standing.
Oh,
And
man.
she's sitting in there, and they pulled her out. And Vivint went and interviewed her and made a video out of this. And they showed her house, like what was left of it. And and then you show that to your employees at the organization and say, this
Yeah.
is why being a professional matters, and doing what, you connect those dots. And that's why people will go climb Mount Timpanogos and, barefoot in the snow.
Yep.
Such a good call out.
Yep. That made the hair on your arms kind of
Me
stand
too.
up.
I got the goosebumps.
Right? Because I can remember watching the video and then hearing the testimonial. But in the spirit of emotionally energized, and we're talking about it in a professional setting. And as I mentioned earlier, it's personal as well. I didn't realize it at the time, but when my wife and I had the opportunity to move to Florida years ago, had 3 young kids, eventually had number 4 and number 5. And my wife loved the beach and she wanted to go to the beach. I was just like, are you kidding me? We're going to load up all these kids, drive 20 minutes to the beach, spend the day at the beach, not in a chair reading a book, but doing this. Where's Andrew?
Exactly. Hey,
Where's
don't
Amanda?
touch that. Get out of the water. Hey,
What are you doing? Don't pick that up, right? Yeah. Right.
Don't put that-
So then you do that for an afternoon and you get home and you are exhausted.
Yeah.
But what I didn't appreciate at the time was even then there was an exhaustive energy, within me, right? Because
Yeah.
I was blessed enough to spend the afternoon with chasing a bunch of kids around a beach, right? On a sunny day and just keeping that I wish I had this perspective today
Right.
back
Right.
then.
What
Right,
you
to be able
wouldn't
to
get to go
recognize-
back to that beach day right now, right? With
Right.
those little
100%.
kids saying, "Daddy, check this out. Look at the
Right.
shell." All that. I think
Right.
there's something to what you said too there, Steve. Like, I feel like we talk about exhaustively energized, and I feel like we have a culture of just grind. And I want to make sure that we balance that
Yes.
exhaustion, that grind with it's absolutely crucial for rest and relaxation. Like, you can't just go to the gym and just lift every single day and expect to grow. You have to recover. And that growth a lot of the times comes from recovery. It comes from that sitting back and introspecting about, why was my day great? Why was my day bad? Why was it exhausting? Like, that rest and recovery is crucial, but there's something special about that rest and recovery after an exhaustive day. Like, one of the things that I have as a non-negotiable is before Thanksgiving dinner, I hit the gym hard because I want to be sore. I want to be all this food that I'm just shoveling in my mouth. It's not making me fat. It's building my muscles. And there's something about like a hard thing before rest and relaxation that just makes you like feel like you earned it. Like, if you're just doing nothing all day and then you sit in front of the couch and like you're on the couch and you're watching Netflix, you just kind of feel like a you know what. But if you have like long, hard day, a long, hard week, and you like watch a movie at the end of it, and just relax, you're like, I earned this relaxation. And it just hits differently. So it's like, earn that rest, earn that relaxation, as opposed to just, molding your whole life around it.
Yeah, it's absolutely, played into me with my, commitment to exercising every morning first thing. It doesn't matter how early it is. I'm going to do it before I start my day. And you might think, wow, you're starting your day with exercise. Isn't that going to, exhaust you? It does. But I also believe that it energizes you at the same time. It
It,
sharpens you for, the course of the day. It's just one of those quirks that I like to to
it does.
engage in every day. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
supposedly a what's it called? I think a domino habit or cornerstone habit where it really does wake up different parts of your brain when you exercise in the morning. If those
yeah.
folks who are dragging throughout the day or feel like they just don't have a purpose or feeling left, this way or that way, just kind of overall negative and down, I dare you
Yeah.
to wake up early and exercise and then tell me if you don't feel different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're being super positive, which I love, right? I just don't like to live in the aura of negativity. But we have hit on it a couple of times about the grind and being in the grind and how long you want to live in that environment, in that culture. Some people choose to, right? I mean, it again, if there's a lot of compensation involved, you might put yourself through that for an
Yeah.
extended period of time because the compensation is what it is. But I saw a quote. Unfortunately, I can't recall where it came from, but I saw a quote a number of years ago, and I've used it and tried to remind myself of it as I've chose different opportunities over the course of my career. And it goes like this: wealth can be accumulated over time, time cannot. Make
Mm,
the most of every minute with your faith, your family, and the integrity with whom you engage. Right. So, and hey, full disclosure, that was not easy for me. I didn't recognize it for most of my career, and even today, sometimes struggle with it a bit. But man, you can accumulate wealth over time. You can't accumulate time over time. When
yeah.
you spent your time, it is spent. And I would encourage everyone to kind of what we've hit on here and there, seize every minute, celebrate every minute, even tough times, right? I heard a while ago, again, another one, another analogy that said, hey, you're going to get good luck and you're going to get bad luck. You're just going to. And the secret is celebrating the good luck and handling the bad luck in a manner that makes you feel good, even though it's bad luck.
That's good. That's
And
good.
that's a challenge, man. That's a challenge because that can affect you, personally, professionally. Um, I had a friend recently that called and said, "Hey, man, I lost my job," and I said, "No, you lost a job.
Yeah.
It's a job, right? There'll be another job as long as you turn." I'll give you this afternoon, right, to process through it, feel what you're going through, and let's get that out of the way and let's wake up tomorrow morning. Let's go find that sunshine. Let's get after it. There's
So
something great out there that's waiting to find. It's waiting to find you.
that's so good. And it just, if we're going to be talking about shadows for a little bit, because I agree with you, Steve. I mean, with every light, it could cast a shadow. And
Absolutely.
we want to talk about the like being positive and keeping on grinding, but the dose makes the poison. But even that
Yep.
scenario, some days you're just going to wake up and it's just going to suck. Life hits you. There seems like there's a legion of negative voices all lined up in your head, screaming their unanimous permission that you suck, life sucks, things suck. And you're just in a bad mood. And I feel like there's nothing that you can do to get yourself out of it, but there is people that you can lean on, like you, to call them and say, hey, man, I lost my job. You didn't lose your job. You lost a job. And there's something out there. And I feel like in those dark times when you do wake up and all you could see is red, you need to lean on somebody like yourself, a mentor, a friend, somebody that you know is a lifter and a pusher that can lift you up and push you forward. Because to your point, if you only just don't go backwards when bad stuff happens, you're already ahead of the game. Because most people, when bad
Yep.
things happen, they throw everything, well, I'm going to stop eating healthy. I'm going to stop going to the gym. I'm going to stop
Yep.
eating my
Yep.
Bible. I'm going to stop
Yes.
doing all the stuff because things are just,
Yes.
woe is me. Then you look
Yes.
up and you're like 10 steps backwards and you still don't have the job or have the relationship or have the whatever.
Yes.
So it's just compounded. So if all you can do is just stay, not go
Yep.
forward, not get any better, but just stay and don't lose ground, I think that you're doing better than most folks when you have
Yeah.
bad things
Yep.
happen.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and I think with this conversation, I mean, we're talking about leadership and establishing culture with it, and that's either leading yourself in your personal life, as we're
Absolutely.
most recently talking about, leading your family or being a leader in the community or a leader professionally. I mean, you think of the shadows like, I mean, you both know, and this is no secret to the world at large if they've been on LinkedIn in the last few weeks. But I mean, my day job, we had an event just a few weeks ago,
Rough
Yeah.
out there.
and
Yep.
I mean, it wiped out a lot of teams.
Yep.
And I went from being a leader of many to the leader and individual contributor because I am the team now,
Yeah.
and it was hard. And it's an interesting thing because it felt sucky for quite a few days, and it
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
still does.
Yeah.
I mean, if I stop and think about it, it still does. But what really helped, I mean, the two of you did because you helped talk me through it. And even that same day that it happened, I coincidentally had a lunch set up with a vendor partner, and these are guys I really respect.
Yeah.
Went and had amazing sushi on Mark Benioff's dime. And anytime I can spend, Salesforce's money, I'll happily do so.
I would also like
Benioff's the
to
very, very
funny.
good
By the
humanitarian
way,
that way.
that's a shout out to
Yeah,
Salesforce.
shout out to
It is an
Salesforce.
absolute shout out. Benioff, thank you for buying me sushi. The Wagyu strips were absolutely amazing. And I know that's not sushi, but
Of
Yeah.
the other
yeah,
half
the
lyric,
hot
dude.
plate with the Wagyu was
Yeah,
absolutely
right on.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, it was finding that sunshine and remembering there's something beyond just work. And,
Yeah.
for anybody that's the breadwinner for themselves or for a family, I mean, your identity gets tied to work because you spend so much of your life doing it and so much of
Right.
every day doing it. And so when the proverbial, what hits the fan at the day job, it can really hit you. And whether it's you being personally impacted, like your friend Steve and so many of my friends right now,
Yeah.
are still looking for work,
Right.
or, whether it's yourself or someone that's going through it, that's emotionally really hard.
It
And
is.
that's where
100%.
instead of being exhaustively energized, it just feels exhausting.
Right. Yeah.
But I love what you both were talking about is lean on your network, lean on those around you
Absolutely.
because they'll lift you and, they can help scatter the dark clouds.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you have a terrific partner in your life. I've been, as you guys know, I've been blessed with in my humble opinion, the absolute blessed person that I could ever been introduced to have stepped into my life. And it's been a good number of years. And it's just, and we were laughing last night, just choosing to be in that moment. And I've not always been good at that, admittedly, if I can go to the counseling couch for just a second. But it's just learn from what you're doing, right? If you fail at something, be able to identify why you failed and just don't do it again.
I want
Right.
to circle back to what you were saying, Steve, when it comes to like a supportive partner. I know that we're blessed to be able to say that. And I
Yep.
think that it's intentional that I say I'm so blessed and you're saying so blessed because of our partners. I was lucky. My dad told me earlier, he said, son, the most important decision you will ever make in your life is who you decide to marry, who you
Yeah.
decide to attach your cart to. And that's because she, or, he, if you're the opposite gender or whatever is going on out there these days, if whoever you decide to link up with as your partner is going to make or break you in so many different ways, and I feel so blessed to have the wife that I have. Like Jasmine, shout out to you. I'll say this.
Yeah.
I had a young manager and we were doing development. At first we had to work on his business acumen and his professionalism and his actual ability in the job and in the seat. And when he got great at that, we had to build his ability to just create a culture and then develop other developers. And then after that, he's like, what's more? What's next? What's next? It's like, now I got to develop you personally. I need you to start working out because you're falling apart. Got his exercise game on point. We got his self-development and just feeding his mind on point. He's like, what's next? Got to find you a girlfriend. And he's like, what? And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, we got to find you a girlfriend. It's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, that's the most important thing. You're never going to get to the next level on your own. We weren't built to do this life on our own. We weren't built to support the house on our own. And we need to find you a wife. And it was like crazy to him. And he stopped right there. that's where he stopped. He couldn't find the girlfriend. He was scared. You know what I mean? I'd be giving him challenges like, hey, go talk
That's
to
a
that girl
great
over
point,
there.
though.
We'd be
Yeah,
going
I
to the
love
gym.
that.
Hey, go over there it's that girl. And it's just part of your development as a person, as a human being, whether a young man or a young woman. You have to find that cart that you're a horse you're going to attach your cart to, because it's
Yeah.
just so important that we do this thing together.
Well, and it
I'm just,
takes it beyond just a selfish thing. Instead of it just being for you, there's more, right? And anytime that you are doing something for a cause that's beyond just yourself, right? You go
Yeah,
beyond just the compensation and paying your own bills. Suddenly, when you have responsibility for someone else, or you're just tied to a great cause in the community, like
yeah,
we were talking before, you're saving lives. For first responders, they're going every day and they're saving lives.
true.
Great cause. It makes it a selfless reason to grow and perform better and whatever else the goal is.
right. Absolutely. Yeah, the teams that on that point, the teams that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of over the course of my career, as my career grew, my family grew, and I would just flat out say to the team, "Hey, listen, this is where we're at, and this is what our organization is asking us to do. So let's go get it done. I mean, we have a lot of responsibility." I said, "But I do what I do because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy who I'm working with, but I would be lying to myself and to you, and I don't want to do that because I want to operate with integrity. Is I do this because I brought a lot of responsibility on myself. I recognize that. So let's go be successful for a lot of reasons, right? For ourselves, for our families, for our company.
Yeah,
Let's choose to live in an environment and in a culture where we're accomplishing what we are being asked to accomplish. And my job is to make sure that we're having a hell of a good time while we're doing it.
I love that. I love that.
Right?
I
Because
also
otherwise it's just work.
I've also been fortunate enough to, as my teams grew, my family grew. And I remember this, and this is why I'm so, I would say, passionate about, I would say, the nuclear family. And I know that a lot of folks maybe not want to have kids or get married and things of that nature, but
Right.
I'm so passionate about it because of how it's changed me. Like, I never realized how selfish I was until I held these babies in my hand and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to break them. And then they grew and smiled at me and looked at me. And I knew that they were going to know nothing and be nobody unless I was my absolute best. And I had to sacrifice my time and my energy and my sleep, and saw my wife doing the same. And it
Yep.
just deposited something in me where I could like recognize my own selfishness in a situation and get to choose selflessness or selfishness. And I'm still bad at it. I would say,
Yeah.
65, 70% of the time, I still choose selfishness because I'm just still immature within my spirit and just who I am as a person. But at least I recognize it now. I know. And then when I choose that sacrifice for others and that selflessness for another's gain, even though it might come at my expense, there's something about that that just deposits something in me that just gives me the sense of peace, the sense of calm. So no matter how exhausted or how bad or how rough it is, it gives me that energized peace because
Yep.
I know I made the right decisions. I remember I was day tracking at the time. It was real neurotic. Like every day I had like an Excel sheet. And if I could go back and do today differently, what would I do differently? And like, I'd be nicer to my mom. I would have kissed my wife when I came up. I would have, and if I mark something off, I mark myself off 10%. So instead of a 10, I get a 9 or an 8 or a 7, depending. And then I tracked it. And I remember on a day, then so I could look back weeks and months and whatever. It was like my game tape. I could go back and say, okay, my day was
Yeah.
rough because I had 3 of these where I could have been
Yep.
sweeter to my wife that led to. And I remember a day where we had layoffs. It was with, my previous company, Jake, your current company. And it was one of the worst days ever. We like fired half the team. People were devastated. Things were raw or just terrible. But I got 100 that day. Because if I could go back and do that day differently, there was nothing I would have done differently. I would have showed up like I showed up and done the things I would have done and had the conversations that I had. And it was hard and it was exhausting. But I know I showed up, so it was a good day, even though it was a bad day. And I
Yep.
remember, wow, I
Yep.
really am responsible for my good days and my bad days, because this was a terrible day on the surface, but it was a great day in my heart. And that really impacted me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Exhaustively
And
Energized just really resonates with me, Steve. I'm glad you brought that up.
And so all of those moments that you just described, and really throughout the course of our conversation here this afternoon, I mean, you recognizing those moments of opportunity, I believe are helping you build the culture you're building, and that will continue to build.
That's a good point.
Yeah, my friend Jake there in one team meeting said, keep moving forward, lead from the front, right? Keep stepping forward. And I borrowed that as well. Yes, build on every moment, on every day, on every week, and create the type of culture that leaves you and the teams you have the opportunity to be a part of exhaustively energized. And I think that you'll create the opportunity to be a part of successful teams as opposed to just grinding, 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 grinding. My friend, my golf buddy this morning at 7:15 this morning, we're standing on number 6 tee, I think it was, and he put his tee in the ground and he turned around and he looked at me and he said, "Hey man, do you ever think about how lucky we are?" And I was like, "Whoa, we are, man. I mean, we're standing on a damn tee box at 7:15 on a Friday morning, and there's a lot of stuff going on personally, professionally, around the globe, and here we are.
Yeah.
Wow, take that. Take that."
That's that's so good, man. And it takes somebody sometimes to say that, to get you out of your own, all the stuff that's going on, to get you realize to, man, maybe
Right.
I can just slow down and smell the flowers, because there's a lot of beautiful flowers
Yeah.
around and it smells great out here. It's just,
Yeah.
I just appreciate guys like you and guys like your buddy in the golf course that are those like lifters and pushers and just people that just fill you up. I feel one of the things that I want to express to our audience, maybe this is for someone listening specifically, is that the people that you surround yourself with is so important. The environment that you surround yourself in is so important. It's an ecosystem. Everything leads to another. You cannot hang around people that are poison, that are negative, that pull you down, that make you feel worse, all of those things. It's just so important to hang out with people that are, I don't know, of good fruit, of good spirit, of good,
Yeah.
and it's just super, it's crucial.
Absolutely. And that goes again throughout the course of your lifetime, right? You'll find as your kids grow, right? And Jacob's kids have grown and my kids are all grown and now they've got kids, my grandkids that are growing. One of the foundational principles is who you're with makes a difference in the results that you're going to get, right? And
Yep.
and do your best to be a positive influence. Help them step into a culture that they don't know, may not know exists, right? And before you know it, you'll be a leader. Because I think we talked about this on the first podcast that we had about leadership specifically. You are, right? Whether you're a leader of one or a leader of thousands, you're there, right? So live
Yeah,
the moment.
that's
You're
good.
there.
There's a quote from Maya Angelou, I believe, said this. She said, "People will forget what you said, but they will never forget the way you made them feel."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that kind of
absolutely.
encapsulates what we've been talking about the last few minutes, because that's all it is. I mean, culture and leadership comes down to those under your charge, right? Simon Sinek also talks about, taking care of those in your charge.
Yep.
And
I mean,
this is so good.
there
We're
are
all
those who
trying to
just
jump
don't
in.
get it.
Yeah, we all got
Yeah.
stuff to say because this is
Right.
such a good
Yeah.
topic, man.
I love it, right? And I appreciate you guys having me on. I do have one on in the spirit of quotes and references, which I love, Jacob. I've got them in my phone. I've written them down. I keep them posted throughout my office. I'll leave you with this. Colossians 3:23
Mm,
says this, with whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as you are working for the Lord, not for men.
it's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's so good. And it gives you that energized when you know you're working for the Lord, not for men. Because how much has the Lord done for you? How much has the Lord sacrificed for me? I wouldn't be here without divine intervention and blessing.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yep.
I'll also, the last thing that I'll say is we talked about hanging out or being around, people that are just good, like good timber. We talked about how you can be your best. And we talked about this. I really love it. Exhaustively energized. Thank you for that, Steve. And I feel like a lot of the times we look at these things that exhaust us and we don't see that appreciation for what it's doing to us. And it reminds me, speaking of good timber, my favorite poems is called Good Timber. And it goes, the tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win a share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. The further sky, the greater length, the more the storm, the more the strength. But sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men good timbers grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life. Like that exhaustive thing that we do is what makes us who we need to be to accomplish the big goals that the good Lord has put in our heart. So we should work at that, not for men, right, Steve? But for
Right.
for the Lord, because we need to become those better, stronger trees to accomplish those things that we have deep down in our hearts.
Build your culture, people. Build your
Yes, it is.
culture.
As John C. Maxwell said, example is not the main thing in influencing others, it's the only thing. So,
Amen to
friends,
that.
we appreciate you, Steve. Thank you for joining us again.
Steve,
You're
Thank you,
welcome here
guys.
You're the
anytime.
man. You're the man.
I appreciate it.
And,
I enjoy spending time with you guys, and be well and go out there and build a positive culture that you want to live in. Make it happen.
Love you too. See you,
friends,
Jay.
Design
guys.
Sharp Side, signing off.